Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 50. Can't believe that, but episode 50 of Duke's Download. I'm so grateful to all of you for being here. Today, we have as our special guest one of the leading political figures in this country, I would say, at this moment in history, Congressman Adam Schiff, who actually is also running for the United States Senate now here in California. I'm a big supporter of his. I'm a big fan of what he's done for the district, and I think he will do a great job for the state as a whole. I believe he will be joining us momentarily, so I'm just going to look and see if I can keep track when his account comes up. Let me see here. Again, thank you for joining. I'm so excited to be doing these interviews again after, I guess the last one I did was in July, so it's good to be back. I see he is on. So I'm going to send him a request right now. Congressman,
Hey, Duke, how are you?
good. It's such an honor and such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, it's great to be with you.
I don't
Thanks
know,
for having me on.
of course. No, I don't know if you remember, we met a couple of times, but I have been a huge admirer and supporter of yours going back to, I think I moved to West Hollywood back in 2011 or 12. And so I've been a loyal voter and supporter of yours in the district since
Can I
then.
just say that you are a good man, a person of incredible judgment and discerning ability, and it's great to be with you.
Thank you so much. No, the day you announced you were running for Senate, I wrote an op-ed, or I announced I was endorsing you or supporting you, and then a few days after that, wrote an op-ed about why you would make the best choice for Senate. Before I get into your current campaign, though, I was just curious because obviously a lot of people know who you are across the state and the country now. But I'm curious, what was that first reason that you decided to run for office in the first place? Because I know you were in public service before you ran for office, but what was it that made you decide to run for state senate in the first place?
Uh, I think I was brought up to think that public service was a noble calling. I'm originally from Boston. We moved to the East Bay when I was 11. I lived in the East Bay for a long time, and then I came to LA to clerk for a judge. But maybe it was something in the air, during the growing up years about the Kennedys and about ask not what your country could do for you, but what you could do for the country. That kind of idealism that when Barack Obama ran for president seemed very reminiscent of my childhood. And I've just always felt that this is a good way to make a positive difference in people's lives, and been really gratified that in fact it really can be.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I think, one of the best aspects of your record and a testament to how deeply passionate you are about the problems we have as a country is the fact that even before you were in the Congress, you were, a state senator, a federal prosecutor. So I think, that's one of the main reasons why I'm supporting you is your long track record in public service. The other reason is, I think, obviously there are so many big challenges across the country today, not just economic issues, but protecting our democracy, women's rights, the environment, and you've really been a leader across the board. Like you've been able to take on all of those issues at once, which I think is a really valuable skill and ability. But I would ask, in your words, like what would you say are the reasons that you're running for Senate at this particular moment?
I think we have really three existential challenges facing our state and our country. The first is that the economy is still simply not working for millions of people who are struggling harder than ever to get by, middle-class families worried about falling out, working families trying to struggle to keep a roof over their head or put food on the table, access quality care. So the economy is still front and center for me, but also our democracy is extremely vulnerable. Over the last 6 years, we've seen the Republican Party tear it down, propagate a big lie about our elections, but also diminish our democratic institutions, denigrate the freedom of the press in ways that you see autocrats around the world do, but we never.
I think your audio might have cut out for a second. Oh, is it just me? Oh, I think we've lost him. Uh-oh. Technical malfunction. Oh, I think he's back. Yep.
Sorry, I lost you there for a minute. I was mentioning the economy and making it work for everyone is a key priority for me. Our democracy, which is more vulnerable, sadly, than ever, is not unrelated. I think when the economy isn't working and millions are worried that their quality of life may be less than their parents and about their children's future, it's fertile soil for the rise of a demagogue who promises that he alone can fix things, but also the planet. Ultimately, if we don't address climate change with a sense of urgency, none of the rest is going to matter very much. And I'm super proud of what we did with the Inflation Reduction Act, but we need to view that as just the beginning. So these three issues are what has propelled me to run for Senate. I think that I've demonstrated an ability to get things done on behalf of my constituents and Californians and Americans, and had a leadership role to play in defending our democracy. And I want to take those leadership skills and the ability to get things done to the Senate.
Well, Don, thank you so much for all the incredible work that you've done defending our democracy. Obviously, you led on the 2 impeachments of President Trump. What are the ways going forward that you believe, both you personally in the Senate, but just all of us as a country, what do you think we can do going forward to take the fight to Trump and more broadly to defend democracy in the country?
Well, if you look at what Trump is doing now, and you probably have seen this, Duke, he was doing a video last week, essentially denigrating, dehumanizing the trans community. Mm-hmm. This is where the GOP is today. They look for the most vulnerable segment of our society, and they compete with each other to see who can make that community even more vulnerable. It's pathetic and it's dangerous. I learned a lot over the last 6 years about our country. I learned a lot about some of the people I serve with. The historian Robert Caro once said that power doesn't corrupt as much as it reveals. It doesn't always reveal us for our best, but it says a lot about who we are. Well, power revealed a lot of the people I serve with, a lot of the Republican members, as not believing anything that they purported to believe in, that their oath of office meant very little or nothing to them. But it also revealed, a strain of bigotry in the country that was there for any demagogue to exploit. And we see, this competition, this ugly competition between Trump and DeSantis about who can try to exploit fears and hatreds to motivate their base. This is what we're up against. And in terms of what we can do, we can mobilize and we can organize and we can make sure we overcome all of the obstacles they put in place to prevent people from voting. They've made it more difficult than ever to vote using this big lie about fraud in the last election. And voting is, at the end of the day, the foundation of our democracy. So I think we all can play a role in Congress, but also at the grassroots level in helping our fellow citizens vote.
Absolutely. And I think what you said is so true about how, economic issues, really all issues are tied back to democracy because, if it goes both ways. If people don't feel economically like they're going to be able to get by, then they start looking for other ways outside of democratic norms to try to address those issues. And it goes the other way too, that if our democracy isn't sound, then we can't address all of the other big challenges that we face as a country. So another thing you mentioned about the irony of so many of these Republican members of Congress who've switched positions on big issues. I'm a big Democrat, but my father worked in the Reagan administration. And to me, it's just astounding these days, the amount of, such as Speaker McCarthy, the amount of people who supposedly are from the party of Reagan, who are now opposing Ukraine opposing Ukraine, supporting Russia essentially and the war that's going on. I was curious to hear your opinion about not only about the Ukraine issue, but also your opinion about some of the hypocrisy that we're seeing from members of Congress on the right.
It's terrifying to hear Republicans go weak in the knees when it comes to supporting Ukraine, or make statements about, why are we supporting Ukraine? We should be supporting Russia. They've got the oil. And the intellectual thought leader of the Republican Party today, and I know this seems incompatible with the term intellectual thought leader, but it's Tucker Carlson, who goes on Fox every night and denigrates Ukraine, claims it's not a real country. I mean, it's right out of the Kremlin, talking point manual. But so many times over the last several years, we've seen Republicans betray any kind of conservative ideology. If the Supreme Court, for example, were a conservative court, it would have some reverence for precedent. It wouldn't overturn Roe v. Wade. But no, the Supreme Court has a reactionary partisan agenda. In Congress, it's all about maintaining power for the Republicans. The ideology of Reagan or anything like it, none of that matters. I'll have to share with you, Duke, I'm a big fan of The Big Lebowski. And as I was sitting through those endless votes for Speaker, and Matt Gaetz was tearing into Kevin McCarthy and talking about essentially how craven Kevin McCarthy was, I found myself in odd agreement with him. And one of my staff sent me one of my favorite lines from The Big Lebowski as applied to Matt Gaetz in that moment, which was so superbly timed. And the quote was, "You're not wrong, you're just an asshole." But it is so disorienting when you see so many Republican members betray anything that the party once stood for in support of this deeply flawed former president, this cult of personality around the former president. And I, my takeaway after 2 impeachments and an insurrection is that you can have the best written constitution in the world, and I think we do, and you can have the best written laws meant to constrain the worst impulses of human nature, and maybe we do, but none of it will be enough if people don't give their oath of office meaning, and if they're not willing to inform that oath with ideas of right and wrong, if they're unwilling to accept the truth, none of it really works. And this is why we're on such a fragile point in our history.
Absolutely. There's so many things I could ask you about. Obviously, I know you've been a big supporter of LGBTQ plus issues, which are obviously near and dear to my heart. Another big reason why I'm a big supporter of yours is you've been really focused both on national issues, but on within our district on issues that are unique to our community. Also, I know you've been a big proponent of the Armenian community and talking about that issue, which I don't think gets nearly enough attention in the media. So I could also talk to you about that. But since we're nearing the conclusion of our talk, I thought I would ask you, what are the ways that people can support you? Because obviously that's the most important thing. There's a long road ahead. But, I think it's important that people get on board now and support you all the way through to 2024.
Well, thank you so much for asking. And people can go to adamschiff.com and they can volunteer, they can contribute, they can sign up to do virtual house parties, they can get involved in emails or texting. We would love to have folks help. And I'm just so grateful. We had a wonderful launch of our campaign a couple of weeks ago online, and then we had a kickoff in Burbank where IATSE endorsed me on behalf of their 54,000 members. But the wonderful thing about our online kickoff is we got support from every single county in every single part of California. And I would love to have your help, your viewers' help, and I'm so grateful for what you do to get good information out to people. It just couldn't be more important these days.
Well, thank you, sir. And please, everybody watching, please support Adam Schiff to be California's next U.S. Senator. I thank you so much for your time, sir, and all the best of luck.
Thank you. Great to be with you again. You take care of yourself.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.